Imagine being pregnant, alone, and trapped in a game where everyone around you is dying. That was the brutal reality for Jun Hee, one of the most unforgettable contestants in Squid Game Season 3. But her story was different. Jun Hee didn't just fight for herself, she fought for her unborn child. And when the time came, she made the ultimate sacrifice, giving her life so that her baby could live. It was a moment that broke hearts across the world. But what if things had gone differently? What if Jun Hee had survived? What if, in the chaos, she killed other players or even guards to protect her child? Would her actions still be considered heroic? Or would she be tried as a criminal under South Korean law? That's the question we're diving into today. We'll break down her actions, apply real legal standards, and try to answer the question: if Jun Hee had lived and faced justice, how long would her prison sentence be? To understand her possible sentence, we need to understand her story. Jun Hee was a late entry into the Squid Game, visibly pregnant, and clearly not someone you'd expect to see in a survival competition. Many viewers thought she wouldn't last a single round, but she did. She survived one round after another, often with the help of other players who felt protective toward her. Her motivation was never about money. It was always about staying alive long enough to give her child a chance. In a shocking twist, she gave birth during the middle of the game, right there in the arena, with no doctors, no assistants, and danger all around. Despite the pain, despite the terror, she delivered a healthy baby girl. Moments later, Jun Hee made her final move. She shielded her newborn from incoming gunfire, sacrificing herself in the process. But let's imagine a different outcome. Let's say she had survived and, in protecting her baby, had killed other participants, or even guards. Would those actions still be seen as noble, or would the law see them as murder? Let's examine what she may have done. In this alternate version of events, Jun Hee might have been responsible for serious violence. While defending herself and her baby, she could have stabbed a guard, pushed a player to their death, or used a weapon to escape danger. Let's say she killed one guard while trying to reach a safe area. Let's also imagine she caused the death of a fellow player, maybe in a moment of panic or self-defense. Under South Korean law, these are not small matters. Each of these could result in criminal charges, especially if she survived and there were witnesses or camera footage. Even if her motives were understandable, the law would focus on the outcome. Lives were taken. Intent, of course, matters, but so does the act itself. So how would a real legal system handle these actions? South Korea's criminal law, specifically Article 250 of the Criminal Act, defines murder as the unlawful killing of another person. The penalties range from a minimum of 5 years in prison to life imprisonment, or even the death penalty. That said, South Korea has not carried out an execution since 1997, and life imprisonment is more commonly used in serious murder cases. If Jun Hee had killed one or more people, she could be charged with multiple counts of murder, and South Korean courts often consider whether the crime involved premeditation, use of weapons, vulnerable victims, abuse of power, or trust. Now, her being pregnant might not affect the charges directly, but it could influence how the court interprets her intent. Was she killing to survive, or was it revenge? That distinction matters. Also, unlike minors, Jun Hee would be fully responsible for her actions. At her age, she'd be tried in adult criminal court with full penalties on the table. Let's look at some real-world comparisons to better understand what her sentence might look like. In 2008, South Korea saw the Itaewon homicide case, where a Korean-American teen was convicted of stabbing a man to death in a public restroom. He received 20 years in prison. In 2016, the Gangnam Station murder shook the country. A man who killed a random woman in a public restroom was given 30 years, largely because of the brutality and lack of remorse. Under South Korean law, each murder charge carries a penalty of 20 to 25 years, depending on the level of premeditation and brutality. That means she could be facing 40 to 50 years if the court were to apply the sentences cumulatively. However, Korean law usually limits prison time to 30 years maximum when stacking multiple sentences, unless the sentence is life imprisonment. More realistically, the court would issue a single life sentence, or a 25 to 30 year fixed term. In rare cases, the death penalty is an option, but given the context, her being pregnant, acting in self-defense, and emotionally distressed, it would be extremely unlikely. But would the court see Jun Hee purely as a criminal? Not likely. Her story is filled with mitigating factors, reasons the court might reduce her sentence. She was pregnant. That alone would not excuse violence, but it would be seen as a powerful influence on her decisions. She was acting to protect her newborn child, possibly under extreme emotional distress. Courts in South Korea can and do consider emotional state when issuing sentences, especially when the defendant shows remorse. Jun Hee also had no criminal history, no evidence of enjoying violence, and likely no long-term plan to escape punishment. Her actions, while violent, were reactionary, not calculated. In past cases involving parents who committed crimes for their children, courts have handed down lighter sentences, often pairing them with psychiatric treatment or suspended prison terms, though that's less common for homicide. All in all, her actions would not go unpunished, but the law would recognize the human complexity of the situation. So where does that leave us? If Jun Hee were put on trial today for killing 2 people during Squid Game, even in self-defense, she would most likely receive 25 to 30 years in prison or life imprisonment with possibility of parole after 20 years. Given the context, her remorse, and the protective nature of her actions, parole would be a possibility, but far from guaranteed. The death penalty would almost certainly be ruled out due to mitigating factors. So in the end, Jun Hee wouldn't be remembered as just a killer. She'd be seen as a mother caught in an impossible situation. Someone who broke the law, yes, but also someone who acted out of love and desperation. Her prison sentence would be severe, but it wouldn't erase the sacrifice she made for her daughter. Jun Hee's story reminds us that real justice is never just about punishment. It's about context. It's about why people do what they do. In a courtroom, her actions might label her a criminal, but in the eyes of viewers, she'll always be something more: a mother, a fighter, and a symbol of survival against the odds. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.